The ninth generation Civic is, in fact, a deeply modernized car of the previous generation. At the former platform, the base was reduced and the track was increased. The weight of the body has decreased, but the torsional rigidity has increased. New shock absorbers, springs, anti-roll bars appeared. The suspension travel became longer. The motor added 2 horses in power. The Civic, which is not currently making the weather on the market, is only a little younger than its once main competitor, the Toyota Corolla. The first car with this name appeared in 1972. These were front-wheel drive cars with 2- and 3-door bodies, 1.2- and 1.5-liter engines with a capacity of 50 and 60 horsepower, a 4- or 5-speed mechanics, a 2-speed automatic, and even a variator were offered. This Civic was sold both in Europe and in the USA. The second generation, which appeared in 1979, was based on the previous one. Civic has become a little larger. The 2-door has disappeared. But a sedan appeared. The production of a station wagon continued. A transmission was added to the automatic transmission and power to the motors. The release of Civic started in England, South Africa, and New Zealand. The third generation, 1983, received 12 and 16 valve DOHC heads, fuel injection, and a semi-independent beam instead of an independent rear suspension. In general, it was already a different car, both larger in size and significantly different in design. Instead of just a station wagon of increased capacity, UPV, shuttle with all-wheel drive appeared. In 1987, the Civic returned to independent rear suspension, this time not McPherson, but upper and lower A-arms. The same one appeared in front. Another achievement of the fourth generation was the appearance of VTEC on the new 160 horsepower B16A engine. The same motor was used on the CRX Coupe. The fifth generation Civic, 1991, is the car that has become widely known not only all over the world, but also in Russia, of course, in a used version. Engines and transmission remained the same. In 1995, the 10 millionth Civic was released. The sixth Civic, 1995, was the last of those that fans of the brand loved so much. The body has changed, but the technique, by and large, has remained the same, unless some motors began to meet tough Californian eco norms. The seventh generation, 2000, received a McPherson in front. Only one engine remained of the familiar ones, and the charged version had a new 215 horsepower K20A under the hood. According to many Civic adherents, this was the end of the model's former glory. In addition, the 5-door hatchback, a sedan, was also produced, and for the American market and a coupe, began to resemble a minivan in body shape and height. The 8th generation Civic, 2005, was also offered in 3 body styles, US coupe. The engines were different, including hybrid ones, and a 2.2-liter 140 horsepower diesel, and even a limited version with 240 horsepower. But for the Russian market, both the sedan and the hatchback had only one engine. Until 2009, the Civic 5D was equipped with a robot, after which it received the 5AKP, which was already installed on the sedan. The modernization of the motor was not limited only to the increase in power. The 1.8-liter R18 of the 2012 model received a different cooling and lubrication system, a lightweight crankshaft. True, this did not affect his fundamental qualities in any way. And in general, Honda remains itself. Along with the already traditional aluminum cylinder block, timing chain drive, and an open cooling jacket, the R18 uses the familiar valve drive mechanism, with a wrench and a screwdriver. The block is not bored, but all repair dimensions for the power group are available. The resource by today's standards is also impressive. 300,000 kilometers of motors take care of exactly. In any case, there have not yet been observed applications with natural wear of the CPG. The chain is designed for 150 to 200,000 kilometers. Individual ignition coils are not a weak link either. The permissible oil consumption of 1L/1000 km only reaches half this value with an extremely aggressive driving style. R18 is started up to at least -30 degrees. However, some rules must be followed. For example, valves must be adjusted every 45,000 kilometers. Engine oil change from European 15,000 kilometers by Russian dealers is reduced to 7,500 kilometers, which is logical. The oil itself is used only with a viscosity of 0W20 or 5W20. Throttle valve to 150,000 will ask for cleaning, after which it will require adaptation. The exhaust gas recirculation system is tied to the engine management process even more rigidly. The EGR valve, of course, can be washed, but without a guarantee of its correct operation in the future. The 5-speed automatic also went to the current Civic from the previous one. And he also, according to Honda's regulations, requires regular updating of the working fluid. Partial after 20,000 kilometers, and full after 45,000 kilometers often. At least honestly, unlike those manufacturers who claim that ATF is supposedly designed for the entire life of the box. These operations should not be neglected. If the current generation of Civic with transmission source has not yet arrived, then its predecessors with a similar box have been widely noted in services. And it's good if it was about the failure of the third-gear pressure sensor, which did not affect the box in any way and changed for a penny. But the chipping of the teeth of the satellites and the wear of the differential bearings are more than a serious drawback of the automatic transmission. Reflected, by the way, on the general condition of the unit, where products clog the filters. To prevent this from happening, you need to monitor the drive seals. A leak that cannot be eliminated by replacing the rubber band is a differential on the way. Shaft bearings were weak, and the shaft bushings in the box body, because of which it was necessary to change parts of the body. It signaled that wear was already critical, a knock when the lever was placed in parking. However, it is worth noting, work on the bugs was carried out constantly. As a result, the automatic machines ran about 100,000 kilometers and even more. And the price of life extension is only 30 to 35,000 rubles. And yet, timely fluid replacement and no slippage. Suspension. Front suspension, McPherson. But on the back, sedan and hatchback are different. The first one has a multi-link. On the second, a semi-dependent beam. Both have nuances. In the Civic 5D, the beam is attached to the subframe via hydraulic mounts, whose gel filling does not like low temperatures. The four-door Civic suffers differently. After 50,000 kilometers, you can expect subsidence of the rear springs, which will additionally be noticeable in breakdowns and tire wear. And the shock absorbers of both Civics are capable of leaking in cold weather. Not only the engine and gearbox need warming up, now dealers are talking about adapting them to our conditions since last year. The steering rack with electric power steering on the shaft would be reliable if it were not for the bushing inside it, which wears out over 40 to 50,000 kilometers. By the way, frost resistance is not a strong feature of the Civic at all. The engine starts, but at the same minus 30 degrees Celsius. For example, the onboard computer screen freezes. If the temperature drops below, the electrolyte in the battery may already solidify. Moreover, the life of a native battery with a capacity of 45 Ah with a preheater is unlikely to last more than a year. It is better to immediately change the battery to a more capacious one. In no case light it directly on the terminals and do not charge the gadgets from the cigarette lighter, which should be used only for its intended purpose. On the internet, you can find a story about how the Civic burned out from the phone. For charging, a special connector is provided. There was another problem. The battery could not cope with the increased load of the onboard network at idle. Now this does not seem to be observed. The battery warranty has been increased from a year to 3. As there is no longer a failure of brake lights, according to which a recall campaign was even carried out for a Turkish-made sedan. What is a modern car without flaws? What is captivating about Civic is that its problems are concentrated, let's say, on the periphery, do not affect vital organs. The engine, despite being tied to low-viscosity oils, attracts with a familiar design and a good resource. Automatic, by today's standards, is also reliable. And frequent maintenance and some operations that are unfamiliar to owners of cars of other brands only say that Honda has not crossed the line beyond which the life of the car is measured by the length of the warranty. Complete set. In Japanese tradition, the Civic sedan, as well as the hatchback, has 3 fixed equipment levels. The base elegance, mechanics, has a stabilization system, 8 airbags, air conditioning, heated front seats and mirrors, a radio with 4 speakers and steering wheel controls. Lifestyle is climate and cruise control, hands-free, light sensor, fog lights and alloy wheels. The upper executive package is only available with automatic transmission. Added leather trim, power sunroof, power driver's seat, rear view camera, paddle shifters, automatic and 6 speakers. The configuration of the Civic hatchback is somewhat different. The bottom one is lifestyle. But in comparison with the sedan, there are, for example, a tire pressure monitoring system, diode running lights, headlight washers, and automatic transmission pedals. And there is no cruise control, fogs, and hands-free. All this appears in the executive 949,000 rubles, along with the dual-zone climate, a camera, a rain sensor, and an anti-theft. Well, Premium already has keyless entry, a panoramic roof, leather, lumbar support, a dimming mirror, parking sensors, a subwoofer, bi-xenon, auto-corrector headlights, etc. With what to compare Civic, given its relatively high cost for the segment? Used Koreans are much cheaper, not like official dealers, but nonetheless. Competitors from Japan also cost, on average, sometimes slightly, and often noticeably less. So, out of direct price competitors, Honda, in fact, has only Germans from the category called Premium. But Civic, if we talk about trim levels, is also not poorly represented on the used market. There are few basic equipment levels, the bulk, with Lifestyle, which has everything you need and even more. And there is a maximum executive. It is a pity that a manual transmission is rare, like a hatchback Civic.